You die. Everything slows down, sound fades. Vision tunnels. Death is not instant. Your heart stops. Your blood stops. But your brain is still alive. For a few seconds you are aware. Some scientists believe consciousness lingers briefly after the heart stops. You are no longer a living person. But you are not yet entirely gone. The moment of death is a process, not an event. First the heart fails, then the lungs, then the brain. But the brain does not go quietly. It fights with everything it has left. This is the hook. This is the moment that separates the living from the dead. It happens to every person who has ever lived. Every king, every beggar, every child. All of them experience this exact moment. And now, so will you. There is no escaping it. There is no bargaining. There is only the slow drift toward silence. The screech of tires fades. The beeping of monitors slows. Voices become distant echoes. The world compresses to a single point, and then that point begins to dissolve. You are dying, not poetically, not metaphorically. You are a biological machine undergoing total system failure. Your body knows what to do. It has always known. The first system to go is consciousness. It does not shatter. It dissolves like sugar in water. The name you answered to becomes just a sound. The memories that defined you become photographs in the rain. Still there, but unrecognizable, you are losing the plot of your own story. The most terrifying part is not the fading of the light. It is the fading of the you that is watching it fade. Your body begins its primal struggle. The gasping begins. A reflex, not a choice. The body makes a final desperate attempt to draw air. It is an ugly sound devoid of dignity. Your heart gives a final shuddering spasm. One useless contraction. And then it stops. The silence that follows is absolute. A silence you have never heard before. Until now, your internal machinery was the soundtrack of your existence. Now there is nothing. The hook is set. The journey has begun. You are dead. But for your brain, the clock is still ticking. The heart has stopped. The pump that delivered oxygen to your brain has failed. But the brain does not accept failure. It has reserves. For the next 10 seconds, it runs on fumes. It is a city plunged into darkness, running on backup batteries. Scientists call this the ischemic phase, the period of oxygen starvation. And during these 10 seconds, something extraordinary occurs. Consciousness does not vanish instantly. It flickers. There are documented cases from resuscitation science. Patients whose hearts stopped later reported vivid awareness. They described watching from above as medical teams worked on them. They recounted details they should not have known. Specific conversations, exact tools, the color of scrubs. Details impossible for a dead person to know. These are peer-reviewed, clinically documented accounts. Dr. Sam Parnia has collected hundreds of these testimonies. In these first 10 seconds, your brain is not yet a corpse. It is a system in extremis, firing its last volleys. Neurons, deprived of fuel, begin to fire erratically. They are not sending coherent messages. They are screaming. This chaos can manifest as a burst of hyperreality. Time begins to bend. A second can feel like an hour. The brain stretches its remaining moments into an eternity. You may experience a rapid replay of memories. Not in order, but in a cascade. This is not life flashing before your eyes. It is a system defragging itself, pulling random files in a desperate attempt to survive. Fear is present, but it is distant, like remembering a nightmare from childhood. The emotional centers of the brain are losing function. Terror is there, but disconnected from the self that would feel it. You are aware of fear without being afraid. Some scientists say this is the brain making sense of the nonsensical. Faced with no sensory input, it generates its own reality. It is a dream from which you are not waking up. A reality built from the last data points it received. If you were in a hospital, that reality might be the faces of doctors. If you were in a car, it might be the sound of twisted metal. If you were at home, it might be a long-dead relative appearing. These are not clinical hallucinations. They are the brain's final attempt at narrative. The brain is a storyteller, and it is writing its own ending. These first 10 seconds are the final chapter, written in frantic, brilliant strokes. You are still there. You are watching. You are, for just a moment longer, the neurons are firing. The electricity is sparking. The city is in its death throes. But the lights are still on. The 10-second grace period is over. The backup batteries are drained. Oxygen plummets past the critical threshold. Orderly shutdown becomes cascade failure. A skyscraper collapsing floor by floor in slow motion. The top floors go first. The executive suites of consciousness. Higher cognitive functions are the most energy-hungry. They are the first to be sacrificed. The part of you that performs calculus begins to dissolve. The part that quotes poetry. The part that worries about tomorrow. Language becomes a foreign concept. You hear words, but they are just sounds. Your internal monologue stutters and goes silent. For the first time, there is no voice in your head. Only the raw sensation of being. The prefrontal cortex, your brain's CEO, shuts down. Without it, you have no sense of self. You cannot form a thought about what is happening. The entity that does the thinking is gone. You are pure awareness without a thinker. Advanced meditators spend decades chasing this state. For you, it comes from catastrophic power failure. Disorientation is not a strong enough word. You are not lost. Being lost implies a place you are supposed to be. You are simply unmoored. Boundaries between your body and the world begin to erode. You cannot feel where your arm ends and the bed begins. You cannot feel your arm at all. The somatosensory cortex is going offline. You are becoming a point of view with no physical anchor. Hallucinations begin in earnest now. Not random firings, but full-scale immersive experiences. The brain, starved of input, amplifies internal signals. It looks for patterns in the static, and it finds them. People report seeing loved ones who have died. These are not wish fulfillment fantasies. Neurologically, these are memory circuits activating. They become indistinguishable from reality. A grandmother's face, a parent's voice. Not recalled, but experienced as present. For many, this is the beginning of the near-death experience. A feeling of overwhelming peace washes over you. This is not spiritual, it is chemical. The brain releases a flood of endorphins. The body's natural painkillers, unleashed in a massive wave. This is the same chemical that gives runners a high. It is nature's final mercy. Anxiety dissolves. Fear evaporates. The gasping body seems to belong to someone else. You are floating in a sea of calm. This is peace as biochemical fact. Your amygdala, the fear center, is shutting down. It cannot generate terror because its power is cut. You are in the eye of the storm. The body below may be convulsing. Cells screaming for oxygen. But you are somewhere else entirely. A space of pure sensation. Unimpeded by a failing physical form, the body is in chaos. The mind is in tranquility. And in this space between 30 seconds and 2 minutes, the famous tunnel begins to form. The light begins to gather, and you begin to move toward it. Or it moves toward you. The distinction no longer matters. Because you are no longer separate from anything. The light appears, not a sudden blinding flash. A gradual coalescence. Brightness gathering at the center of your fading vision. You are moving toward it. Or it is expanding toward you. The boundary between self and world has dissolved. But now there is direction. There is purpose to the dissolution. This is the tunnel. The most iconic element of near-death experiences. Science has a compelling explanation. Your visual cortex is a network processing light and form. It sits at the back of your brain. As oxygen drops, it does not fail uniformly. Peripheral areas are more sensitive to hypoxia. They fail first. Central areas are more resilient. They fail last. What you are experiencing is not metaphysical. It is the literal physical collapse of your visual system. You are watching your own hardware shut down. The periphery goes dark, leaving only a small central field of view. That is the tunnel. At the end of that tunnel, the last surviving visual neurons fire. They interpret their own death as a brilliant white light. This is not a light at the end of a tunnel. It is the final image of a dying brain. But the experience is more than visual. It is felt. It comes with that profound peace. The two phenomena are linked. As the visual cortex collapses, so does the default mode network, the system responsible for self-awareness, for feeling like a separate individual. As it shuts down, the ego dissolves. Boundaries between me and not me vanish. You are no longer a person moving toward a light. You are the light. You are the tunnel. There is no separation. This is why survivors return with transformed worldviews. They have not glimpsed heaven. They have glimpsed the dissolution of the self. For a psyche that spent its existence defending that self, its dissolution feels like union with the divine. Your brain, in its final act, is not creating fantasy. It is creating a reality more vivid than waking life. It pulls from deep memory stores, from archetypal imagery, from the fundamental architecture of human consciousness. It shows you what it feels like to let go. This is where science and mystery become one. We can explain the mechanics. The visual cortex, the default mode network, the endorphins. We can describe how the brain creates the tunnel and light. But we cannot explain why it feels like encountering the infinite, why it leaves people fundamentally changed, why it feels less like hallucination and more like homecoming. We explain the machinery of a miracle, but the miracle itself remains. Your brain is creating your final reality, and that reality is profound, undeniable peace. You are moving towards something, or becoming something. The tunnel is there. The light is there. You are not afraid. The final moments of your visual system are a masterpiece. A graceful exit, a soft landing. The brain, even in death, tries to protect you. It wraps the horror of oblivion in a blanket of light. For that brief, eternal moment, it works. You are at peace. You are home. You are everything and nothing. And then the lights go out. The show cannot go on forever. Electrical activity begins its final collapse. Every thought you ever had, every emotion, every memory, all of it was electricity. Patterns flowing across synaptic gaps. Now that flow is stopping. Neurons have been firing frantically, but they have no way to recharge. Sodium-potassium pumps have run out of ATP, the molecule of cellular energy. They cannot reset. They fire one last time, a final desperate pulse. And then they go silent. This is not graceful. It is a rolling blackout. Different regions go dark in sequence. The hippocampus, seat of memory, is one of the first. This is why final memories are not of faces, but of a light in the tunnel. Newest memories are most fragile. They vanish first. What you had for breakfast. The name of the person you met yesterday. Gone. Older memories linger a moment longer. Your mother's face. Your childhood home, a voice you have not heard in decades. They resist deletion longer, but eventually, they too are consumed. The cerebral cortex goes dark. Billions of connections that made you who you were. Your quirks, your talents, your fears, your loves, all become inert circuits. The electrical storm becomes a calm sea. No one is left to witness the silence. The EEG becomes a flat, unwavering line. This is clinical brain death. The person you were stops existing, not metaphorically, not reversibly. The pattern of information that was you is lost, like a computer unplugged. RAM wiped clean. Hard drive intact, but without power. The data is inaccessible. The hardware remains, for now, but the software is gone. The operating system that was you has been deleted. No consciousness experiences this final shutdown. The light, the tunnel, the peace, all of it was the brain's final production. Now the theater is empty. The audience is left. The stage is dark. The play is over. No encore. No curtain call. Only the silent space where a performance once was. Neurons no longer fire, synapses no longer transmit. The electrochemical symphony has played its final note. Then silence. Absolute. Complete. Irreversible. Your body is now a vessel without a captain. A machine without an operator. It does not know you are gone. It follows its programming. The first change is temperature. Algor mortis begins, the death chill. Your internal thermostat is offline. Your temperature drops until it matches the environment. Cold room, you cool quickly. Warm room, you cool slowly. But you cool without fail. About 1.5 degrees Fahrenheit per hour. Your skin becomes cold to the touch. Lips turn blue. Fingertips lose color. Blood that once rushed with purpose now moves only by gravity. This leads to the second change. Livor mortis. The death stain. Your heart is no longer pumping. Blood becomes a stagnant pool. It settles in the lowest parts of your body. On your back, it pools in your back and buttocks. On your side, it pools on that side. The skin takes on a purple-red hue. It looks like a bruise, but it is not a bruise. It is blood, no longer circulating, settling where gravity takes it. This begins within 20 to 30 minutes. It becomes fixed within 6 to 12 hours. After that, blood coagulates. The pattern is set. The third change is rigor mortis, the stiffness of death. Muscles require ATP to relax. Without ATP, muscle fibers lock together. They cannot separate. Muscles become rigid. This begins in small muscles first, the face, the jaw, the fingers, then spreads to larger muscles, the arms, the legs, the torso. Your jaw locks, your fingers curl. Your body becomes a statue of who you once were. Rigor mortis peaks around 12 hours. It holds for another 12 to 24 hours. Then it slowly releases. Cells break down, structures dissolve. Stiffness fades. Your body becomes supple again, not alive, simply relaxed. These are not metaphors. These are biological facts. The machinery is breaking down. No pain, no awareness, only chemistry, enzymes, proteins, cells following their predetermined paths toward dissolution. Your body is no longer a person, it is organic matter. A temporary arrangement of molecules now rearranging itself. The pattern that was you is lost, but the matter remains. And it will now return to the earth. Decomposition begins, not with a bang, with a whisper. Your own body turns against itself. Bacteria that lived inside you your entire life now have no opposition. Your immune system, once a vigilant army, is gone. No white blood cells. No antibodies. No inflammation. No defense. Bacteria multiply without resistance. They spread from your intestines into your tissues. They consume you from the inside out. This is putrefaction. The first sign is a greenish discoloration on your lower abdomen. Bacteria produce gases. Hydrogen sulfide. Methane. Ammonia. These gases build up inside you. Your abdomen swells. Your face swells. Your tongue may protrude. Blisters form on your skin. Fluid leaks from your nose and mouth. Your skin takes on a marbled appearance. Green and purple veins visible beneath the surface. This is not violent. It is not painful. It is natural order. Cells rupture. Tissues liquefy. Organs collapse into formlessness. Your eyes, once windows to your soul, soften and sink. Your skin, once a barrier, becomes loose and slips from underlying tissue. Your hair and nails appear to grow. They are not growing. Your skin is shrinking, receding from follicles and cuticles. The shape that was you becomes unrecognizable. Within hours, your features begin to fade. Blowflies arrive within minutes of death. They lay eggs in your eyes, nose, mouth, any open wound. Maggots hatch within hours. They feed on your tissues. They accelerate the breakdown. Beetles arrive, then moths, then mites. Each has a role in the grand process of recycling. This is the fate of all living things. Return to the earth. Molecules repurposed, energy transferred. Carbon becomes soil. Nitrogen becomes plant food. Water evaporates into the atmosphere. You become part of the world again, not as a person, but as nutrients, as elements, as building blocks of new life. The body that carried you becomes food for something else. Not destruction, transformation. The cycle that has repeated for billions of years. Every atom in your body was forged in a star. Every molecule existed long before you. They will exist long after you are gone. You were never separate from the universe. You were always a temporary arrangement. Now that arrangement is dissolving. Returning to the infinite pool. The you that was is gone. But the stuff of you remains. It will become something else. A tree, a flower, a worm, a bird. A breath of air in someone else's lungs. This is not comfort. This is not meaning. This is biology, the cold, indifferent machinery of life and death. It applies to every living thing, without exception, without mercy, without meaning, except the meaning you gave it while you were here. Decomposition accelerates. Bacteria populations explode. They have consumed the easily accessible tissues. Now they move deeper. Your organs are liquefying. The liver, the kidneys, the heart, all of them breaking down into a thick, dark fluid. This fluid leaks from every opening. Your abdomen is now severely distended. Gases have built to tremendous pressure. The skin stretches tight. It may rupture. If it does, the smell is released. A smell that is unmistakable. A smell that signals death to every creature nearby. This is the odor of putrescine and cadaverine, chemical compounds produced by decaying flesh. They are evolutionary signals, warnings to the living. Stay away. Disease is here, but for the bacteria, it is a feast. Your body temperature is now the same as the environment. Your skin color has changed completely. Green, then purple, then black. Blood vessels have broken down completely. The marbled pattern is gone. Now there is only the dark, uniform color of advanced decay. Your hair is slipping from your scalp. Your nails are falling off. Your teeth may loosen in their sockets. Your face is no longer recognizable as a face. Features have collapsed. Soft tissues have liquefied. What remains is a mask of skin over a structure that is no longer there. Insects are now in every stage of their life cycle. Maggots have grown fat on your tissues. They are now pupating. Beetles are eating the maggots. Mites are eating the beetles. A complete ecosystem has formed. It exists entirely on what was once you. Your body is now a landscape. A temporary habitat for creatures whose only purpose is consumption. They do not know they were once inside a person. They do not know they are recycling a soul. They only know hunger, and they are not hungry anymore. By 72 hours, your body has lost its human shape. It is a mass of decaying tissue. Bones are beginning to show through where skin has slipped away. Your skeleton is the only structure still holding form. And even it will not hold forever. Bones take longer to decompose, years, sometimes decades. But eventually, they too break down. Calcium leaches into the soil. Minerals return to the earth. The complete cycle takes time. But it is inevitable. Every trace of you will eventually vanish. No body lasts forever. No grave holds permanently. Even the most elaborate tombs crumble. Even the most careful embalming fails. Entropy always wins. Your body, which carried you through decades of life, which felt the sun and the rain and the touch of loved ones, which laughed and cried and bled and healed. That body is now food. And soon it will be dirt. And then nothing. Or not nothing, something new, something that was always there, waiting. The endless cycle of transformation? The universe recycling itself. You are now part of it. Not as a witness, as material, as fuel, as the foundation for what comes next. Is consciousness gone? Or did it simply stop being measurable? Science does not fully know. We can explain the body. Every chemical reaction, every cellular breakdown, every neuron firing and falling silent, the EEG going flat, temperature dropping, blood pooling, muscles stiffening, bacteria consuming. We can explain all of it. Except one thing, we cannot explain the experience. Why you were you. Where that awareness went. The hard problem of consciousness remains unsolved. The ghost in the machine. The mystery that haunts philosophers. What is it like to be you? How does a collection of neurons produce the feeling of being alive? Materialism says you are your brain. When the brain stops, you stop. Consciousness is an emergent property. A side effect of complexity. When complexity is gone, consciousness is gone. This is the scientific consensus. Clean. Simple. Testable. But not proven. Materialism is a theory. Not a fact. It is our best explanation. But it leaves questions unanswered. Dualism suggests something more. A separation between mind and matter. A ghost in the machine. Something beyond the physical. Something that cannot be measured. Science cannot confirm this. Science cannot deny it. Science measures only the measurable. If consciousness is not measurable, science has nothing to say. Near-death experiences add mystery. People report verifiable perceptions during cardiac arrest. Details they could not have known. Conversations they could not have heard. Events they could not have seen. These are documented, peer-reviewed, published. They do not prove survival, but they challenge simple materialism. They suggest something is happening. Something we do not understand. The problem is not that science is wrong. The problem is that science is incomplete. We have mapped the brain. We know which regions do what. But we do not know how subjective experience arises. Why there is a witness to biological processes. Where the witness goes when processes stop. Perhaps consciousness is fundamental. The brain does not create it. The brain receives it. Like a radio receiving a signal. When the radio breaks, the signal continues. It just cannot be heard. Perhaps death is not the end of awareness. Only the end of awareness through this instrument. Perhaps you continue, in some form, in some place. In some way we cannot comprehend, or perhaps not. Perhaps the silence is absolute. Consciousness is nothing more than flickering electricity. When the electricity stops, there is nothing. No afterlife, no rebirth, no continuation, just quiet absence. We spend our lives afraid of this question. We build religions around it. We write poetry. We lie awake wrestling with it. In the end, we all get the same answer. We just do not get to bring it back. No one has ever returned from death. Near death is not death, it is near. And near is not the same. The boundary is a one-way door. No one comes back to tell us what is on the other side. So we guess, we hope, we fear, we wonder, but we do not know. Perhaps we are not meant to know. Perhaps mystery is the point. Perhaps not knowing is what makes life precious. Every moment, every breath, every heartbeat, all of it matters because it does not last. Death gives life meaning, not the other way around. When death comes, it comes for all of us, equally, finally, irreversibly. Or so we think. If your brain creates your reality, then your final moments might feel like forever. Time is a construct of the mind. A brain in its final seconds can stretch experience into infinity. The tunnel, the light, the peace, they are real to you. They are the only reality that matters. Your brain gives you eternity, a forever that fits inside a second, a lifetime in a moment, a universe in a synapse. Or perhaps death is simply the end, a switch flipped, a light turned off. No darkness because there is no one to perceive it. No peace because there is no one to feel it. No anything, just quiet absence. The same nothing that was there before you were born. You were dead for billions of years before you existed. It did not trouble you. Why should it trouble you now? We spend our lives running from this truth. We distract ourselves with work, with love, with art. We build monuments to our impermanence. We write our names on walls that will crumble. We carve faces into mountains that will erode. We reach for meaning in a universe that offers none. Still, we cling. Letting go is the hardest thing a human can do. We are programmed for survival. Every cell wants to continue, wants to fight, wants to endure, yet endurance is impossible. Everything ends. Every star burns out. Every galaxy spirals into nothing. Every universe eventually goes dark. Entropy wins. Always. Everything falls apart. Everything dissolves. Everything returns to its simplest form, including you, including me, including everyone we have ever loved. All of it. Gone. But here's the paradox. If everything ends, everything matters. Every moment is precious because it is the only moment. Every breath is sacred because it will not come again. Every touch is meaningful because it is finite. Death does not make life meaningless. Death makes life meaningful. It is the deadline that gives the project urgency. It is the ending that gives the story shape. It is the silence that gives the music meaning. Without death, life would be an endless expanse. A desert without features, a song without end, a story without conclusion. Death is not the enemy. Death is the editor. Death is the final period at the end of the sentence. When that period comes, it comes. Then it is over, or maybe it is not over. Maybe there is something we do not understand. A dimension beyond measurement. A continuation beyond the physical. Science says we are our brains. But science cannot explain why we feel like more. That gap between what we know and what we feel, that is where mystery lives. Mystery is what makes us human. We die. That is certain. What happens in those final moments? That is between you and the universe. The universe is not telling. Perhaps you return to the source. Become one with everything. Dissolve into infinite peace. Perhaps you simply stop. Perhaps stopping is not terrible. Perhaps it is the final rest. The end of striving. The end of wanting. The end of fear. The end of pain. Perhaps death is not tragedy. Perhaps it is release. Homecoming. Return to the silence before the noise. We do not know. We cannot know. That not knowing is the final truth. The truth every human faces alone, in the dark. In the silence, in the final moment when the light fades. When the tunnel closes, when the brain falls silent. What happens after you die? Scientifically, your body returns to the earth. Your brain stops functioning. Your consciousness ceases to be measurable. The experience is yours alone. Your brain creates it. Your mind lives it. Then it is over. Or maybe it is not over. Maybe the experience continues. The awareness that was you finds new form, returns to the infinite, becomes something we cannot imagine, something beyond science and philosophy. We stand at the edge of that mystery every day. We peer into the darkness. The darkness peers back. What happens after you die? You die. That is the only honest answer. Everything else is speculation, hope, fear. Poetry, not knowledge. We do not know. We will never know. Not until we go there ourselves. When we go, we do not return. The mystery remains. Perhaps some doors are not meant to be opened. Some questions are not meant to be answered. Not knowing keeps us humble. Keeps us searching. Keeps us alive. You die. Your body cools. Your blood settles. Your muscles stiffen. Your cells break down. Your bacteria consume you. Your molecules return to the earth. Your atoms rejoin the universe. The pattern that was you dissolves. Something else begins. Something new. Something old. Something happening for billions of years. The cycle continues. The universe breathes. You are part of it. Always were, always will be, not as you, but as something, as everything, as the stuff of stars, the breath of worlds. The matter of existence, you are not gone. You are transformed, not ended, recycled, not lost, returned. That is the truth, the cold, hard, beautiful truth. Science gives us this truth. Mystery guards it. Death reveals it. What happens after you die? You live. Not as you were, but as you always were, a part of everything. A temporary pattern in an infinite dance. A wave that rises, crests, and falls, only to rise again. Not the same wave, but a wave nonetheless. The ocean remains. The ocean always remains. You were always the ocean, you just forgot. Death is the remembering. Death is the return. Death is the end of forgetting. And the beginning of everything else.